Since the beginning of history, there have been a type of people who can simply arrive at a moment's notice and perform a task adequately. You and I know these people as assholes. The kids that show up the morning of the presentation and fake their way through it, get the praise of the teacher, and end up with a B, while you spent 12 hours preparing to get your B+. We see this a lot in the sporting world. Players get signed the day before the game, come in and do a decent job. In fact, lots of players have made a journeyman career out of being a last-second replacement. It's time to introduce you to NASCAR's version of this. Regan Smith. Regan came up through the ranks, reached the pinnacle in NASCAR, and then used that veteran savvy to become one of our favorite strange starters ever. Need to evaluate your team's performance? Go get Regan. Your driver is injured and you need a fill-in? Go get Regan. Need a pit road reporter? Go get Regan. Need someone to help you protect your crops? Go get Regan. Because he can probably do a decent job. Folks, this is the story of Regan Smith, a strange starter. You ever see that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's laying in bed and he lists off all the jobs he's had to that point? I imagine that Regan Smith does this every night before bed, but instead of jobs, he just lists off all the teams he's driven for. We all know Regan Smith is kind of the super substitute driver in the Cup Series of the last 4 or 5 years, but did you know that Regan has been in NASCAR since 2002? Because he has. Regan's stock car career began in the old USAR, Hooters Pro Cup Series. That's right, folks, Hooters sponsored an entire racing series. He cut his teeth racing against guys like Shane Huffman, Curtis Davis, Brian Vickers, and John Wood. He was never able to win at the Pro Cup level, but he did have some strong runs which earned him some opportunities with smaller NASCAR teams. In 2002, Regan made his Truck Series debut with the Mittler brothers in the number 63 Ford. Unfortunately, he DNF'd in both races he competed. He also made his Busch Series debut at Memphis, but a crash ended his day early. In 2003, Regan would run about half the Busch Series schedule, making 16 starts for Boston Motorsports and 2 other one-offs with smaller teams. In 18 total races, he earned a best finish of 15th at Texas and an average finish of 29th. In 2004, Regan ran another partial schedule in the Busch Series between 3 different teams. Fortunately, he earned another poor average finish of just 28th and did not finish on the lead lap in any race. But he did end the year on a high note. He finished 9th in the Truck Series race at Homestead, driving for MRD Motorsports. 2005 is when Regan would finally begin to put his name on the NASCAR map. He began the season with Express Motorsports in the Truck Series, but after just a couple races and failing to qualify at Atlanta, he left the team and jumped to Glynn Motorsports to drive the number 65 truck. After Glynn bought out Aikens Motorsports number 58 car in the Busch Series, they moved Regan up to that ride. He ran 21 of the final 22 races of that season, but failed to record a top 10 finish. But he did turn heads on qualifying day. Regan earned 5 top 5 qualifying runs, including qualifying 3rd for 3 of the final 6 races. This performance was enough to impress Renzi Motorsports to sign Regan for the full 2006 Busch Series schedule. So Regan Smith is finally a full-time NASCAR driver in the Busch Series, and he gets to drive a car sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. If you want to send us some money for that, that'd be great. Regan drove the number 35 McDonald's Ford for Renzi Motorsports for the entire 2006 Busch Series schedule. It was a rough year that saw Regan earn an average finish of 25th, but he did break through to earn his first top 10, a 10th place run at Charlotte in May. To be fair to Regan though, we have to put things in perspective. In 2006, he was pretty much racing against 15 to 20 full-time Cup Series drivers in each Busch race. In fact, only one race that entire season was won by a non-full-time Cup driver. Do you know who won that race and where it was? Comment below. In 2007, Regan was signed by new Cup Series team Ginn Racing to be their driver of the future. Ginn Racing was formed when new ownership bought out the old MB2 Motorsports team. Regan was set to drive the entire 2007 Busch Series schedule, as well as share the number 01 Cup car with Mark Martin, who just entered the semi-retirement phase of his career. Halfway through 2007, things are looking pretty good for Regan. He's got 3 top 5s in the Busch Series and already has a few Cup Series starts under his belt. Unfortunately for him, shortly after, Ginn Racing merged with DEI and they ended up shutting down his Busch Series team. He also lost out on a majority of the Cup starts he was supposed to make, as DEI opted to replace him with their development driver, Eric Almirola. But there was a silver lining, as DEI guaranteed Regan that he would be a full-time Cup Series driver for them in 2008. Regan rode out the rest of 2007 driving in the Truck Series for Morgan Dollar Motorsports, earning a 5th place finish at Gateway. – 2008. Regan has now reached the summit. He is a full-time Cup Series driver, something that kids who grow up in racing just dream about happening, and he's finally there. Unfortunately for Regan, he didn't really get the part of the dream where you're super successful. Things in 2008 didn't really go that well for him. He got off to a rough start with a best finish of 14th after the first 15 races. DEI then made the decision to replace him for the Sonoma race with Corvette racing legend and all-around good Canadian boy, Ron Fellows. So we can't really stay mad at DEI, right? Because we got Ron Fellows out of it. I'm sorry, Regan, but like, we got Ron, man. That's pretty sweet. DEI then also made the decision that Ron Fellows would replace him at Watkins Glen, and Regan's very rough season continued. But there was a light that would shine through the dark clouds of Regan's 2008. At Talladega in the fall, Regan shocked the motorsports world by passing Tony Stewart, coming to the checkered flag on the last lap. He ducked below him, Tony then illegally forced him below the yellow line, and Regan beat him to the checkered flag with his teammate Paul Menard in tow. Regan turned an awful season around and won his first Cup Series race. In fact, it was his first top 10, his first great success in NASCAR, until it wasn't. A few moments after the checkered flag flew, the officials decided to, be a bunch of complete dicks and award Tony Stewart the victory. Apparently, Regan's pass was illegal because he went below the double yellow line, which at Talladega is a big no-no. But here's the thing, the rulebook also says if you're forced down there, it's a completely legal pass. And here comes the replay, and oh look, Tony Stewart forces him down there. Look at that. He was forced down there. I'll say it one more time, he was forced down there. It's a completely legal pass. He should have a trophy. In fact, the Truck Series race not that long ago, we saw the leader get disqualified for doing that very same thing. So anyway, I guess NASCAR was just like, hey, Tony's having a rough year. He hasn't won yet in that Toyota, so you know what? Let's give him this one. Tony's had a rough career. He only has 2 championships, Sorry, Regan.
I don't know. I always got told that the rule is if you get forced down there, then you're the winner of the race. On the last lap, anything goes. They always say it in the driver's meeting.
Regan ended 2008 as the Cup Series Rookie of the Year, despite missing 2 races. So that's a pretty great accomplishment, and he got a nice trophy for that. It's a trophy that I hope NASCAR didn't also show up and try and take away from him. In 2009, Regan had a tough decision to make. There were very few full-time Cup Series rides available, and a step back down to a lower series could have spelt the end of his career. So he decided to sign with Furniture Row Racing, who had just made the move back to being a part-time team. He ran 18 races with the team and had a best finish of 12th at Daytona in the summer. In 2010 and 2011, he remained with Furniture Row Racing, and they decided to race full-time again. But this is not the Furniture Row Racing that a lot of you are familiar with, not the championship-winning and race-winning team. This is back when they were really just on the cusp of becoming competitive. They bought owner points from another team to be locked into races, and were just starting to get support from larger organizations like RCR. They had a rough 2010, but 2011 was their breakout year. Regan had 5 top 10s and earned the team their first victory at Darlington in May. He held off Carl Edwards on a green-white checkered restart to earn his 2nd career Cup Series victory. Regan returned to FRR for 2012, but the team informed him he would not be re-signed for 2013, as they had opted to sign Kurt Busch. They actually ended up letting Regan go after the fall Talladega race, in which he finished 5th, so they could move Kurt to the ride a few races early. But this move now marks the beginning of Regan Smith's career as one of the greatest substitute drivers in NASCAR history. Right after Regan was let go, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was sidelined due to a concussion he suffered in a testing crash at Kansas. Hendrick Motorsports opted to bring Regan in for the next 2 races, and he did not disappoint, earning a top 10 finish in the second race at Kansas. Shortly after this, it was announced that Regan had signed a multi-year deal to race for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series beginning in 2013. He ran the 2012 finale for the team at Homestead, winning the race, giving him his first career Xfinity Series victory. Now it's time for a Regan Smith career resurgence. Regan kicked ass and took names in 2013. He won 2 races, had 19 top 10s, an average finish of 11th, and ended the season 3rd in the championship. He also ran a limited cup schedule for James Finch's Phoenix Racing, earning 2 top 10s, including a 7th place finish in the Daytona 500. Regan would have an even better 2014 Xfinity season. He only won once, but he had 26 top 10s and finished 2nd in points. In the Cup Series, he continued being a strange starter, subbing in for Tony Stewart at Watkins Glen. He unfortunately finished 37th after a crash. In 2015, Regan again returned as a substitute, driving the first 3 races of the Cup Series season in Kurt Busch's number 41 Stewart-Haas Racing Chevy. Regan then served as a fill-in again at Martinsville that season, driving Kyle Larson's number 42 Target Chevy for Chip Ganassi Racing. In the Xfinity Series, Regan won 2 more times and had another 26 top 10 finishes, but this was not enough for the team to keep him on. They decided to let him go in favor of Justin Allgaier for 2016. So Regan made the decision to move back up to the Cup Series. He signed with Tommy Baldwin Racing for 2016 and ran in 35 of the 36 races. He earned a 7th place finish in the Daytona 500 and a 3rd place finish in a rain-shortened Pocono race. He also buried the hatchet with Junior Motorsports and ran 2 races for them in the number 88 Xfinity car, earning a 6th place finish at Kansas. In 2017, things looked pretty bleak for Regan. There weren't a lot of options available, so he made the decision to go Truck Series racing. He signed on with Robbie Benton's truck team, making 13 starts for the team and earning 2 top 10s. But he's like a super substitute driver, right? So that's not all the racing he's gonna do. Following a horrific back injury suffered by Eric Almirola, Richard Petty Motorsports opted to sign Regan to race for them at Charlotte and Dover. He finished 22nd at Charlotte, but crashed out of the Dover race. Oh, and he also ran in the All-Star Open for the team, finishing 4th. Regan also filled in with Joe Gibbs Racing at the Xfinity race at Mid-Ohio, finishing 29th. In 2018, Regan made the decision to hang up the old driving shoes and focus on being an analyst with NASCAR on Fox. But of course, he found time to make some strange starts as a substitute. After Casey Kane decided to retire from Cup Series racing due to health concerns, his team Levine Family Racing signed Regan to drive the number 95 Chevy in the remaining 11 races of the 2018 season. In those 11 starts, he earned a top 10 finish at Talladega and had an average finish of 22nd. In fact, his average finish was actually higher than Casey Kane's was before he left the ride. So this ride with LFR in 2018 really marks the end of Regan's reign as NASCAR Super Sub. He did drive 2 Xfinity races in 2019, but he hasn't been back in a race car since. But is his racing career really over? Regan's only 36 years old and has a very clear track record as a serviceable fill-in driver. If he's not already scheduled to work a race for Fox, I'd like to think that he's high on the list of available fill-in drivers for most teams in the Cup Series garage. Overall, Regan made 20 starts as a substitute driver in Cup. He has an overall average finish of 22.8 in these races. His career average finish in the Cup Series is 25th. So Regan actually seems to perform better when he shows up and races with a team with little preparation. Another amazing stat is that in these 20 relief appearances, he has just 3 DNFs, and 1 was an engine failure. Now, I'm sure there's been scenarios where fill-in drivers have come in and performed a lot better over a shorter number of races. Like, look at road course ringers in the 90s and 2000s, right? They came in and sometimes they won races. But the sheer fact that on 5 separate occasions Regan was hired as a substitute driver really speaks volumes to the respect that the rest of the NASCAR garage has for him. He can get a decent finish, and most importantly, he's gonna take care of your race car. The guys in the fab shop love him. I doubt there will ever be another driver trusted to substitute as many times as Regan Smith was. He was never a world beater, but he did have success, won races, and earned the respect of team owners and drivers across the Cup Series garage. His long history of different rides and NASCAR super sub status have earned Regan Smith a spot among the growing list of FBTT strange starters. You're strange, Regan. Congrats.